going to talk about, my experience in the TV business, working in syndication, network, premium cable, basic cable. And I've learned a great deal, but what I have learned through Von's class and my experience is that I really do know nothing. I mean, I have all this experience, but people, young people who are taking classes like this can buy a camera, borrow a camera, shoot something, and if they can capture a zeitgeist or some particular kind of a spin and a market, make a piece of video, get it on the web, get it on the DVD, and circumvent all of the pipes that we're going to talk about today. And I think that's particularly exciting. And then later on, we're going to talk to Dave, who you see running around a camera, and he's done exactly that and has made a profitable DVD with using a consumer camera, and now has a burgeoning Hollywood career. How many of you are here because you want to produce movies? Okay. How many of you are here because you want to be an executive or some other, you want to somehow engage in the entertainment business in that way? Okay. How many of you have been told that you shouldn't do this and you should go do something else with your life that's more remunerative or more stable? About half of you. Okay, well, that's why I say congratulations, you made the right choice. My father said to me when I decided to come out here, who told you you were supposed to have fun at work? And I just figured out that I'm going to do that. And I would say this, and Von, I think, will tell you, I've had fun every day for the last 15 years. And so we're going to learn some things that I've learned along the way. And one of the first things I did learn in Hollywood is I worked for a producer of both TV shows and movies. And I learned very quickly that people develop movies and people make TV shows. So if you're really into making scripts and doing, like Randy Greenberg said, developing a project for 5 years, the movie business can be great for you. However, if you really want to make product, which I like to do, I like to be making TV all the time, TV is a great business. The other thing I've learned is to be in this business successfully, you can develop ideas till you're blue in the face that they're interesting to you. What I think is more effective, if you really like to make TV shows, is try and smell where the money is flowing. That is within the company or within or in the marketplace. Sniff out that money. Figure out who's spending money on projects, and then take your ship and your sail and open up right in front of them and sell them what they're asking for. I found this about halfway through my career. I realized I'm not going to develop content that I want to make. I'm going to develop content that is interesting to me that I think people are going to want, and then shove it in their face when they want it. And I've had kind of a fun career because of that. I work at Playboy, and I am vice president of digital content today. I spend it literally 10% of my day marketing myself and the product that I'm making to people who may not necessarily, like Randy said, you should network every day, shake the hand of the person next to you. I network within my company every day, making sure that the other people, the people in marketing, distribution, finance, international, know what I'm doing, love what I'm doing. I'm shoving it in their face because you just never know when their opinion is going to be asked. So I think it's the same thing as Randy said. You're always marketing, always shaking a hand, always have, if you've got your iPhone with you, if you've got a piece of video, always have your iPhone loaded up with video of what you got. You got a treatment for a movie. You've shot 2 minutes. Have it on your iPhone. Not only shake a hand, but show it to somebody. Content is king. Distribution is king. Finance is king. You really must respect all of them. If you don't get finance, you're not going to win. If you don't get distribution, you're not going to win. You really need to play in all these places. And the game pieces don't change, they morph over time. I think the important thing as we get through our distribution, our discussion here, you'll see that for my career, I've started out in network TV and movies, then I worked to syndication, then I moved to network TV again, then basic cable, then premium cable, and then DVD, and then now online. And the elements are always the same. You're trying to take a great piece of content, shape it, deliver an exciting piece of video, and push it through a pipe. The pipes change, but it's always the same business. Okay, so we started talking about TV, and why would you get into TV? Because, according to the MPA, there were 610 movies made last year, okay? So most of the time, most of the people in the entertainment business are developing movies. However, there are 70 networks in the US making, each with a full slate of programming. So if you've got 70 networks, including the broadcast networks, each making, let's say, 400 hours worth of film a year. Somebody who's good with math, which I didn't get to do before I here, that's 2,800? 28,000, see, that's good. 28,000 pieces of product approximately that are being made every year. And that's just, sort of off the top of our heads doing a quick calculation. So there's a lot more guys like me and that guy and this guy. Von's career has been mostly in television, correct? Big chunk. But there's a lot more guys and women spending their time creating TV project, finding TV product, marketing TV product, and distributing TV product. So if you really like to make stuff, TV is the place to be. Okay. The other thing that's important, and I think this applies for both film and TV, is you have an idea, you want to make a movie. Randy's explained to you about the creation of independent production from sort of a larger perspective, sort of making films that you would put into the distribution pipeline. Some of you are just trying to get a project made. I would say, in my experience, the most important thing that you can do is move that product down the line as far as you can with no money. You have a concept, make a piece of video with that concept. Get a DV camera, get an actor, make a piece of video that you can get in front of somebody and show them the physical implementation of your project. That's what I have always done. I very rarely will give somebody a piece of video, give them a concept on a piece of paper. I'm always showing video at them. And then redefine yourself where the money is flowing. And you see in my career, as I've said, I've moved through all the different distribution pipelines just basically on where the money is flowing at any one time. I've always chasing after the cash. And then hug metaphorically, 10 people every day, that's the other thing. It's networking every day, either in your organization or at Starbucks. You're always out there networking. And this is the other point that I kind of introduced earlier on, which is content. You really need to look at the process of making TV, and at least in a professional way, is you got content to make, you got to get cash to make it, you need to get distribution, and then the big thing is this, and this is where people, I think, what I've seen always drop the ball, is marketing. If you're not, what did Randy just say? He said, I made this movie. I got a $20 million movie. Now the studios are saying, where's my marketing money? If I don't have that $20 million, I got nothing. So now what I'd like to do is, and then Von will sort of give some questions that'll get specifically towards the course, where the specific points we need to hit about syndication, network, basic cable, and the other forms of distribution. But I'd like to bring Dave out for a second, and Dave is going to talk to us a little bit about this other form, which is, and then why don't we take your microphone, Von? Dave, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us how you got here from Seattle.
I'm David. I just moved down here about 8 months ago from Seattle, and I went to film school there and graduated in like 2002. Then I sat around for 2 years, hoping somebody would hire me in any sort of media position, and then I realized it's just not going to happen. If you want to do something, like, I had to do it myself. So I borrowed a camera and decided to make a movie. I made it a documentary because I knew I didn't need a big crew, just me and a camera. Found a subject and went out and shot it.
Tell us about the subject.
It's basically about cyclists. I don't know if anybody knows what a track bike is, but that's like what messengers ride. It's like a single-speed bike. It doesn't have brakes. They ride fast. They do races. They do tricks. They have fun. So I found an event that just brought all these cyclists together, and I knew there was a sort of like a fan base for it. It started to get more popular. So I started shooting that and realized people wanted to see more and more. And so then I decided to make, a complete movie out of it.
And then you made a movie about these bicyclists, and then you manufactured the DVDs and distributed themselves, correct?
Yeah, because I realized after putting like a couple clips online that a lot of people were watching it, a lot of people wanted to see a full-length movie, and I realized, it wasn't big enough that I could try to sell this idea to a distributor or something like that. So I just printed like 1,000 DVDs, sold them off a website, put it in the Bicycle Film Festival, which tours around the world. So, thousands of people have seen it in the theater. That sort of generates more and more buzz, and just basically sold off my site. After it screened in Japan, it was licensed there by a distributor. And then, just basically sold as many as I could at home and licensed in Japan.
And then, okay, so now you've got clips out on the web, and you're selling DVDs.
Right.
How much money, have you made any money in web distribution on this, or only in the DVDs?
I probably made about $10 off of web distribution. IndieFlix picked it up. No, okay. Yeah, IndieFlix picked it up. There's probably like 3 people have downloaded off of that, so maybe $15. But through them, because I knew somebody who worked there, he was able to get it into Netflix, and then they just bought maybe 60 copies.
Did they pay you for the 60 copies, or is it
But
like
it
share?
costs like $10, so that's like $600. So it's
But is it the marketing where one feeds off the other, and you're just getting the name of your movie out there, and that's how you're able to monetize it?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah. And then, but I think that's sort of after the fact. I think the people who already knew about it, that was the meat of it. So selling it off my website was definitely where I made the most money.
Okay.
Probably maybe like 30,000.
And then you took your movie, and now how is that success giving you an in into Hollywood?
Just coming down here, people already knew about it. A lot of for example, anybody who's interested in cycling, a lot of people have heard about it. So through that, just meeting other cyclists, they one of them was a producer, in a small television company. He usually does reality stuff, but he wanted to get into the cycling scene. So he wanted to make another movie similar to mine in LA. So he basically hired me as a director to shoot another version of this, like a lot better, more production value in LA. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm directing that.
Cool. Okay, well, thanks, Dave. So please feel free to ask Dave any questions afterwards. So now I think what we're going to do is we're going to spend a few minutes just walking through the different types of television distribution, how it works, and then Vaughn can sort of lead a Q&A with that. In TV syndication, independent companies can create a piece of TV product, and distribute it out through the 200 plus major television markets in the United States. And generally the way that product, and that's what I did first in my career. I worked at Samuel Goldwyn Company on American Gladiators. But a small company can make a piece of product, take it to NAPI, connect with distributors, finance their product through some of the methods that Randy discussed, through some pre-sales, create their product, and then they do a revenue split or a ad split with the TV station. So if I have a TV show and Tribune agrees to put it on WGN in Chicago on Saturday night at, now it might be 1 a.m. if you're lucky, they will take the product probably for free. They will keep half of the advertising space, so they'll sell ads, and then I, as the producer, distributor, will keep half those ads, sell it through some sort of a distribution, an ad sales agency, and get my money that way. And if you get a big hit, you can make a lot of money. A good example, there aren't that many of them anymore. It used to be all the time, but there's a show that I think it's in KTLA right now, Cheaters. It's been on the air for 10 years. It started off as a kind of like, not even a hit, it was kind of not very well produced, but it's a show about people who cheat on their spouses or girlfriends. I work at Playboy, so I guess you can see the theme of what I like to watch. But it started out pretty slow, but then they built the quality of the product over time. Again, they own it. The company in Texas that produces it owns it, and then that advertising revenue becomes more and more valuable. And then they took, and I think G4 now has cheaters. They build the product, they cover their costs through the advertising sales, and they get the word out through their distribution relationships with the television companies. So they're getting it out there in the broadcast market and generating value in their IP and their trademark and their brand, and then they can go sell that in cable. Another great example of a show like that is Cops. And Cops is the be-all and end-all of that syndication model, although it's really owned by Fox and Barbara Langley, or Langley now? Yeah. There is still some syndication, but it used to be a mainstay. Now all the energy is really going into basic cable, and that's because they're making significant bank in basic cable, because basic cable has two revenue streams. One of them is advertising that the networks get, but they also get the per sub revenue. And the per sub revenue works like this. If I have a basic cable network, I distribute out to what they call an MSO. That's a multiple system operator. Comcast, Charter, bunch of Time Warner. They have the rights in your local neighborhood to distribute cable content, and then they charge you a fee. Let's say it's $50 a month. For me, it's $180 a month. And it just keeps going up, up, up. And then they distribute that money out to the cable networks, the basic cable networks. And the money can be significant. Network television business, which is under assault right now. In the network television business, you have a group of companies. There are, I think, 5 major networks right now: CBS, NBC, ABC, Fox, CW. All those companies own a series of stations. They're owned and operated stations. They finance production now mostly through their in-house production units, or they license company from other production units. They basically own the whole pipe. They create content. They distribute the content out through their television pipes, their owned and operated stations, and then through the other stations that license their content. And then they monetize the whole chain of that content. But because they don't have that second revenue stream, the per sub revenue stream, and the advertising business is getting hammered because of all the economic changes that you've seen recently, that business is under attack, and you've seen these adjustments now where they are, I guess as one of our presenters said yesterday, they're just producing a bunch of crappy reality shows. I think they're great reality shows, but they're reality shows, and so they're adjusting their production model to hopefully keep their margins high.
It's no accident why Jay Leno is at 10 o'clock. Instead of spending roughly $1 million an episode to do more dramatic television. So Jay Leno is not, it's reality, but it's not a reality show, it's a talk show. He's still hugely popular. And Leno will lead up to Conan. And Conan is also becoming hugely popular in that time slot. But interestingly enough, in just 4 weeks from the day Conan O'Brien took over The Tonight Show, the average age of the viewer of The Tonight Show reduced by 10 years. 10 years. So it went from an average age of 45 to an average age of 35. And where do you suppose those other people went?
Letterman.
Absolutely. They went to Dave. So, this whole thing is interesting because now what we're talking about is, it always was a pie. It always was, we're going to slice and dice this pie according to demographics. But hey, you mentioned CPMs, cost per thousand. We've got a huge television audience. At any given moment, there's 12 million people watching, The Tonight Show. That's not true anymore, okay? The share has gone down, the rating has gone down, the CPMs are going down because we're all distracted. We're distracted by alternatives, games, the internet, DVDs, and I think something that, I'm not sure if it was Patrick who touched on it, but somebody touched on the idea of devices like the little Roku box that you can use, to watch Netflix on your television set. Or I happen to have a Mac Mini hooked up to my television set, so I'm able to surf the web and watch, Hulu on my plasma screen. That technology could be considered a cable killer, if you think about it. Because if all that product, all that content is on either, a combination of Netflix, which you pay a small subscription fee for, it's like, $7 if you want to, go with the lowest, but you still have access to that online component. If you do that, or you surf Hulu, or you watch some of the other, television aggregators that are, CBS.com, for example, which is the only major that is not on Hulu, then why do you need cable television? Why? You need an internet connection, and it's got to be a nice, fat, wide pipe, because everything you want to watch has already been recorded and is up on the internet for you to watch whenever you want to. And that's sort of like the huge TiVo box in the sky, if you think about it. So even though these companies will take a placement in something like Hulu because they know that people like me are doing what I just told you, okay, that's actually frightening, because is there enough ad revenue flowing from the standard broadcast, the Hertzian broadcast transmission world, over to the internet aggregation world of Hulu to make up the difference for what was lost because all of you are playing with your Wii? So it's just something to think about. This is why it's both a frightening time, but also, in my personal opinion, the most exciting time to be in the entertainment business ever is right now.
Absolutely. We do know that the studios have always, seen new technologies, yelled about the new technologies, and then they adjust. But right now, we talked first about the syndication business. The value of the network shows in the syndication business are being dramatically reduced because the shows are getting burned through in Hulu. So by the time, it used to be that a network show would get 2 runs, and then would go into, 2 runs in the first licensing fee, I believe it was 2, and then would go into syndication. So the show wouldn't be burnt out. People who didn't see it in that first network run wouldn't get to see it. Now they can see it on Hulu, and it's replayed everywhere else, so that the value in syndication is going down, and that's a major impact on the studio model. But what Vaughn's talking about, this whole question of you can just watch it online, leads to the last part of the last distribution methodology, which is premium cable. In premium cable, there aren't that many premium cables. There are right now just Showtime and HBO, and Playboy is one of them. And then there's the new entity, Epic, Star, and Stars. And Stars Premium. In that model, people are paying directly for people pay a license fee for the content, and the MSO pays, just like they pay a per sub fee of $2.90 for ESPN. There's a split where if you pay $15 to Comcast for your HBO, HBO gets some percentage of that.